Welcome to the channel. My name is Jodie Knight. You can find my live portfolio over on eToro. The link is in the description below for that. But in this video here, we're going to talk about PayPal's price action. We're going to look at the daily chart, the weekly chart. We're also going to take a look at the open options interest. As well as that, we'll talk about my price targets, where I'm going to add, where I'm going to trim, all that good stuff, fair value and all that. On top of that, though, we're going to have a quick look at the general market, what's happening. We're going to look at the economic data from yesterday and what's coming today. And then also we'll take a look at some PayPal news if I can find any. If not, we'll find something else interesting to talk about briefly. PayPal daily chart's looking really good. We had the tweeter bottom a couple of weeks ago. That's been a very nice 11% return there. We took a couple of extra positions down here, added back. We do now have a gap though, so this is most likely going to want to fill at some point, but I think we need to see how the market opens on Monday to see if it's still looking bullish. The market's been pretty good for the past 2 weeks, and we're coming into what is typically the worst part of September, so I would expect some kind of market pullback, some settling, but I think the sentiment is generally getting quite bullish, so we have to be cautious of that as well. So I may get rid of some of my legacy positions on this one just because they're so small. It's not benefiting my copiers, and I'll sort of roll them into one larger position if we do get a larger pullback on that one. Other than that, though, we're up about 33% from this double bottom here, which is very nice. That's quite a larger move for PayPal. So some consolidation here is probably not too much of a shock. We did have some consolidation already, and it did cool off the RSI a little bit, but this sudden move here, we're getting a little bit hot again, and PayPal typically doesn't like to be too overheated. So again, I think we need to cool off a little bit. So we're either going to consolidate along this kind of $75 area, or we're going to pull back down again. We have hit all of our short-term measured moves on this one. So next kind of targets to the upside are going to be that kind of $90 range, and then we're looking at 95 in quite short measure. So I don't think we're going to have too much problem getting to $100, but again, I think that's still cheap. My fair value is $124 currently, and I'm updating my models constantly. And I think as we start to see the ads business come online and start to see some of the numbers from these new partnerships and stuff, that my fair value is going to creep up as well. So I actually might be in this one for a lot longer than I initially thought I would. My original play on this was a return to the medium, so kind of just back to its fair value. The problem now I've got is I think the fair value is going to continue to increase because the company is just executing so well. So we'll have to see. Maybe I will be in this one for a lot longer than I thought I would. But other than that, though, RSI a little bit overheated. That's going to need to cool off a little bit. So again, consolidation at this level or a little bit of a pullback, but that's going to depend what the market wants to do. Cuts are going to be very good for financials, especially stuff like PayPal and SoFi. So maybe it will run hot for a bit. We don't know. We need to see how that shakes out. MACDX Plus, we're still really looking good on the moving averages. They're starting to want to open up again. I mean, they're pretty high. Institutions are still loading up on this one. Love it. Retail's been washed out for a while, but we know that. And flow is quite high. There is a little room for some more flow. It can go a bit higher, but again, I think some cool off back to the median on this one is probably warranted. My targets, I already talked about that. My fair value, I typically trade the stocks I'm holding to their fair value once they get that. I'm not really that interested. A good example of that is Palantir. I've recently closed out all of that because it's far too expensive in my opinion, and they need to show a lot of growth for a long period to be able to justify those multiples. I think it's the opposite for this one. I think they're going to be just expanding and expanding. Looking at the weekly, I've updated my fair value here, which coincidentally lines up with this nice level we'd picked out probably last year at about $123. So that's really nice to see. We've got a lot more targets when we start getting above $100. I think my cuts will start to get more aggressive. I think any cuts I make until we get over $100 will be very, very minuscule. I'm more than comfortable letting this position become overweight in my portfolio because I'm very confident in what the company is going to be able to do in the coming year. But very excitingly, we got the golden cross confirmed on the MACDX Plus. RSI has a little bit more room on the weekly, but probably needs a bit of a slide down. And then flow's looking good as well. So Looks pretty bullish on this one. Very nice. Can't really complain about it. Checking out the PayPal open options interest, we can see we've got this very nice kind of area strike here at $80. That's going to be pretty damn strong resistance. So that's going to help with the accumulation areas that we've talked about. Maybe we get another pop and we just kind of chop around in this area, but for the most part, we still do have that gap, so we can cool off there a bit. Not too much interest in the in-betweens, but 69 is going to provide pretty nice support, which makes sense. Look at where that lines up historically, so that's pretty decent. And then way below that, we've got 65, 64. Got to say, if we get down that low, I'm going to buy a heck of a lot more shares again, so I hope we do drop that low. Week out, though, a lot of that bearishness seems to melt away. Again, we do look like we've got the expectation that we're going to get a little bit of cooling here, but we've also got the expectation still for 80 to be the top kind of tough level to break through. So again, more confirmation of the consolidation thesis. That doesn't have to happen. We can pop over these levels. These are just areas that the big boys are looking at. And then a week out after that, we've got this level of 70 going to act as support. Don't know what's wrong with the chart here though, but either no one's expecting it to go up or there's something bugging here. Probably going to go with bugging. Let's take a look at 2025. Apologies if something just popped up on my screen. Someone's just messaging me. So 2025. Again, these levels, $100 very popular still, but 140, 145 definitely the more preferred strike price. But again, that's a pretty large move for us to make before January 2025. So I would probably say that's quite ambitious. 100 definitely possible. I see us getting over that, or at least well on the way. But 145 is quite a lot. So definitely when we get to $100, we'll be having a pause. That's a very strong psychological level there as well. But January 2025, January 2026 even, we can see that we're still looking at that kind of $195 area, but for some reason the higher numbers aren't shown on here, but I would expect there still to be a lot of interest in 140 and 145. Okay, so for PayPal news, we've got a couple of little bits. First, on the left in the black box, we've got a tweet from Orel. I don't know him. I don't follow him or anything like this. It just came up in my feed. Basically, it's an example of PayPal and Alex Chris bending over to resolve issues that everyone's seeing that they're not familiar, they've not been privy to. There's multiple instances of stuff like this happening on X, and he's still doing it. He's still really, really grinding. He must work all the hours in the day to stay on top of things, but feel free to pause the video and read the rest of that. Other than that, though, we had another deal announcement, PayPal with Amazon. Amazing. Very excited about this one. So it's a bit of a two-pronged deal. We've got the normal PayPal is going to be available for checkout, which is going to be pretty good. I think a lot of people will be using that. We've seen evidence that does increase take rate. Other than that, though, starting next year, Prime members will be able to form a one-time link of their Amazon account to their PayPal account so that Prime free fast shipping benefits are available automatically. So this is the Prime shopping thing. Now, Amazon claims the Prime orders have grown, Buy with Prime orders have grown 45% year over year, and the company says, I think it says the 50% more Prime members have used Buy with Prime this year compared to the same time last year. Now, I think this is still a very small niche part of Amazon, but more is merrier, right? So more avenues to grow, more strings to the bow, as they would say. Other than that, though, PayPal had a webinar last week, or was it the week before, discussing their ad platform. I am so excited for the ads platform. It's a very high margin business if they can do it right. They've done everything else right. Fastlane seems to be growing like a weed. I'm very excited to see those numbers start hitting the bottom line and keep a good eye on that. But with the ads business, the potential there is huge. Think of other very successful ads businesses, Meta, YouTube, that kind of thing. Very high margin, very good cash generation. Very excited for that one. So if you think PayPal's cheap now, it's definitely cheap when we start pricing in some of this ads business. So economic data that we got on Friday, very thin on the ground. We just had the oil rig count and then Fed Harker speech. But then let's take a look at what we've got coming up on Monday. What's the button this week? So Monday again, very thin on the ground. We've got some manufacturing data, not the be all and end all, but we do want to see some growth there, especially in the coming year. Really, we're all looking at Tuesday. So Monday, we could continue the trend. There's no data that's going to put us off upside. The only thing weighing on that is, so might be some profit taken. We had the quadruple witching on Friday, and I was actually quite surprised. There was a lot of stability in the market, to be fair. It wasn't as choppy as it's been on other days, but we'll see if that continues through next week. But like we talked about earlier in the video, we've had a good few green weeks, so some cooling's probably not too alarming. Okay, if you enjoyed this content, give the video a like, share with your buddies, and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you on Monday for an update. I don't think I'm going to have camera on there because I'm on holiday, so I'm just taking the microphone, and hopefully see you Monday.